What is going on, guys? It's Will Blandon. It is a horrible day, but I'm still in good spirits, and I decided to come on here and do a video. I apologize, the wipers make too much noise. But one of the things with my channel is I'm going to talk a lot about holding companies and the holding company that I finally set up. Yes, I finally set up my holding company, if you haven't been watching. And I chose Navy Federal Credit Union as my main bank for my holding company. I recently found out, and I already put up a video about it, Oxygen Bank does not extend credit, but it is still a good personal banking app for gig workers. You can still get the $25 referral if you use my link below this video, but it is not the best for business. The app will allow you to set up and open a business bank account, but I'm gonna stick to using Oxygen for, like, if you got a quick sole proprietorship or independent contractor, you can still open up an account on the personal side, and it'll still segment your money, and it's a cool app, and you still get the $25. But Navy Federal was a better choice for business banking, and they do have a decent app. I do feel safer with Navy Federal as my business, as well as I have a personal account. I have about 4 accounts with Navy Federal. I have a checking and savings, and then I have a business checking and savings for my holding company in Navy Federal. And I can sleep well at night knowing that I made a good choice. But I am going to talk a lot about these fintech banks and apps, because if you're a gig worker and you need a quick way to open an account without going to a bank and setting up a corporation, apps like Oxygen Bank are a good choice. You know, when you're ready to do something more involved, you may want to switch to a credit union or a traditional bank, but I'll leave that up to you. But I love what I do with this holding company stuff, because I truly believe the holding company, along with the S Corp election that I have on it, is not only going to save me in taxes, it's now going to give me that employment that I need, because you got to remember, I don't really have a full-time job. So my holding company is my full-time job. So I'm eventually going to have a check cut to myself. So now I will have an actual check, pay stub, an actual physical job to qualify for mortgages and cars, stuff to that nature. And as my company grows, or as my holding company grows, I will just fund it with more and eventually give myself a raise. But I love this stuff because it's going to shield me from future lawsuits. Let's say you decide to come on board and become my partner. You won't partner with me. You will be partnering with my holding company. So I like that. It gives me anonymity and helps shield me from lawsuits. So let's say I set up a corporation with you. You know, let's say I partner with 3 people. So it'll be my holding company and their holding companies if they so choose, but they can actually do business in their own names. Well, let's say I partner with 3 people that do business in their name, and then I'm a partner under my holding company. Now let's say that business gets sued. The likelihood of me being shielded from lawsuits is very likely, because I'm not doing business in my actual name. You set up the corporation where it's the 3 members and my holding company. So it's 4 members altogether. But being that I'm using a holding company, and let's say the local business we set up is in, say, Florida, I'm probably going to be shielded from any lawsuits that that company says or gets involved with just because I have a holding company and it's not my name. There's even ways that I could probably shield some of the investments in that company because I have a holding company if my partners trust me. So let's say we see a lawsuit coming. We can, the three partners can actually send all or a large amount of the revenue to my holding company until the lawsuit or whatever blows over, and then I can also send that money back down to that business later. So I actually shielded that whole company's assets and funds from that lawsuit. Provided we see it coming in enough time, so they can't say it was done because of that lawsuit. But the fact that I have a holding company, they can't say that that is an illegal transaction because the holding company is a partner of that new company. You can check with CPAs on this stuff, but I would go with some of the bigger CPAs that you find on YouTube, because the average CPA or accountant, you walk into their office, they're not going to know what you're even talking about with this holding company stuff, because they don't work with this stuff on a day-to-day, because the average person doesn't do this stuff. Now you might be thinking, well, why are you worried about lawsuits and stuff like that? Well, it's not so much a lawsuit that I'm worried about. Excuse me. I'm more worried about my future, because this holding company is going to be a way to build my dynasty, for my family legacy. And I don't want that, to get screwed up by things that I might make mistakes personally. Like, I might get involved with a young woman and decide to get married, and I don't want her coming after me for all the assets I build up in my company that are eventually going to be handed down to my daughter. So by building a holding company and eventually putting that holding company into a family trust, I shield my family legacy from lawsuits that I may do something personal. Let's say I get involved in a car accident personally, and it causes a lawsuit. It won't affect my company. It'll just affect my personal revenue, which is fine, because you got to remember, I don't need a lot of assets in my personal name, because I want my company to actually pay for everything. I don't want to pay for most of the stuff in my own name. Eventually the company's going to own my home, my cars. It could pay for your cell phone service, your cable. Literally, you might only need your personal check to really just maintain your food, your entertainment, and your clothing. Really, your holding company with operating companies underneath it can pay for all your day-to-day needs. So it's really key to fund your holding company. It's really key to create operating companies under your holding company to fund your holding company, because it's going to pay for your lifestyle. And you got to remember, you're going to live below your means. You're going to fund your holding company. I'll give you an example. I'm going to fund $3,000 a month into my holding company, but I'm only going to pay myself back in an actual check $2,000 a month. So that $2,000 a month is where I should be living my lifestyle, based on that $2,000 a month, not on the $3,000. So your holding company should always have extra funds in it in case of emergencies. And not only that, you want to make sure that your check always clears. So you want to have it funded with extra money. Now, Now, as the holding company grows, let's say 5 to 10 grand a month, at that point, I may raise my living expenses more or pay myself more, say 3-4 grand. You know, depends on how much you want to live below your means, is basically what I'm trying to get at. And you want to have your holding company always funded with extra money, more than what you're paying yourself. And remember, they only count as far as corporate credit on what you're putting in your account, not what you're paying out. So if you're putting in 10 grand a month, but you're only paying yourself out 3 grand a month, they're going to give you business corporate credit based on the 10 grand a month you're putting in your account every month. So this is going to be a way of always having some type of savings that's shielded from lawsuits, and it's always going to protect you because it's going to help you control your spending. If done right, having a holding company literally can control your spending, because you're going to tell yourself to only live on that personal check that you're giving yourself. Now, as of right now, that personal check will pay for everything. It's going to pay for my car, it's going to pay for my phone, my rent, but eventually I'm going to have my holding company, operating company, pay for all of that. I'm going to set up a holding company just for the purposes of buying my first operating company under my holding company is going to be a management company. Even though my holding company is a management company, it's going to be set up as a real estate management company, and it is going to hold my first investment property, and it may hold maybe one vehicle. I may even keep the vehicle separate. Yeah, I might even keep my vehicle separate under the transportation company, because I really don't want my company that's holding my investment property to be in harm's way at any time. And the cars are still, you know, a risky liability. So I probably would have those under a separate LLC. And my holding company is a S Corp, a traditional S Corp. So it was a C Corp that is turned into a S Corporation. But all my operating companies are most likely going to be LLCs underneath my holding company. You know, I just wanted the traditional S Corp. I could have done a LLC and made that an S Corp, but I wanted a traditional S Corporation to be the holding company of my operating companies. But most likely my first operating company will most likely be a management company to hold my first investment property. And even if I just lease right now, because we're in a pandemic and you don't want to rush and go run out and go get a lease, buy an actual property, you want to wait. I'm trying to wait 6 to 8 months before I actually buy. But what I may do, and I'm looking for this right now, is search for a small house or something real estate wise that I can lease with the option to buy. So this way I will be in a situation where I can just get in something that I don't have to move or out of right away, because eventually, once my credit is what I need it to be, I will purchase that property. But I'm going to try to get a lease option and try to get it with no money down. I know this is amazing and you're like, you're not going to pull this off, but I'm going to attempt to find a property that somebody is desperate to sell And trust me, this will work if the landlord is desperate. If they're desperate to sell and there's nobody in the property, they will do the lease option for you just so they have some monies coming in to cover that property. You got to be careful with this though, because a desperate landlord might be in a position where the mortgage is behind. You don't want to do this with a guy that the mortgage is behind. So you want to do your investigation, make sure that mortgage is not behind in payments, because you don't want to get into a lease agreement with somebody that isn't even paying their mortgage. So I'm going to try to find something where I have a landlord that has an empty property that I can do a lease option for, and try to get him not even to run my credit. I'm just going to show him what I have in the bank and be like, look, I have this much money in my bank account. I don't want you to run my credit until I'm ready to actually purchase the property, but I will show you proof of funds. And that's when you show them the money in your accounts as proof that you're going to pay your rent or lease rent. So that's what I'm looking for right now. If I can't do it with a two-family, which is probably going to be really difficult right now, I'll probably just do a single family. Just something I can get into, give them the lease option, and then just start paying rent to that property. And it doesn't have to be anything big. It could be a, 2-bedroom, small house. Knowing me, I want it very secluded in a very quiet town with very few neighbors. And you want to try to get into something that you'll be comfortable in. With me, that's parking is important to me. If it doesn't have a garage, I need a lot of parking area. It's just something I want. And if you have the right landlord, that property could be the base of operations for your future operating company. So I originally was going to just go right into a multifamily, but if I could just find a decent, comfortable single family, do the lease option, I will go that route. Because later, you got to look at it in 6 to 8 months, I can always still buy a multifamily property. I may just have to put more money down. But if I get a comfortable single family, I don't have to move around. I'll be like in a position where I'm actually comfortable. And then I really like houses because I just like to receive all my packages. There's nothing worse than worrying about if your neighbors are going to steal your packages. I'll get a couple cameras around the property, maybe get one of those doorbells that has a camera so I can receive packages when I need them. It's very important to me. I haven't decided on what town. For those of you who don't know, I'm in Connecticut, but I haven't decided on what town I'm going to start doing this. I mean, a home run would actually be a 2-family that has an empty unit, and the landlord still allows you to do the lease option and start collecting rents from the actual tenant in the building. That's the perfect scenario. Because at that point, I can set up my operating company and have that tenant cut the check to my operating company directly. And then I would act as just a property manager. And I would just tell the landlord to instruct them that, I would just be working for the company that's eventually going to buy this property. Not to tell them I'm an actual guy or future landlord. You never tell tenants that you're going to be the landlord or the owner of a property. A couple reasons. For one, you don't want them coming to you in a manner that you're at fault. So by being a middleman or property manager, they tend to be a little bit friendlier. They'll still give you their complaints, but it'll be on a almost like a friendship way of telling you. And if you get cool with the tenants, it makes it a lot easier to go to them and be like, yeah, this ain't me, but you know, the landlord wants the money by this point or whatever. Just a better way of doing business. And if they have a complaint, they're liable to tell you what complaints they have about the actual landlord that they believe owns the property. And they tend not to ask for favors as much, because you could be like, look, I just work for these guys, you know, it's not me, you know what I mean? And it's just a better way of doing business without getting too involved with your tenants. But this is what I'm trying to build, a real legacy for my family. I want to be the first person in my family tree, even before my brothers, because I'm the oldest, and even go back and later help them. One of my brothers I'm not speaking to right now, the youngest one I am, and he said something to me one day, and it really resonated with me and made me feel like, yeah, he's kind of right. He said, you're never going to feel 100% comfortable until you have your own place. Because I'm renting some place that I'm not really happy with. And he's right. Until I find a place that's going to make me comfortable, I'm never going to be 100% happy. So I want to at least find a place I can lease that is somewhat going to be a comfortable environment for me, you know, where I don't have to worry about, you know, the worst, which is, for example, if where I'm renting, if these people do something crazy, I get kicked out. So it's like, I'm ready to move someplace more stable, but I don't want to buy yet. I'm recommending nobody buys now, because the housing market is going to drop dramatically, I think, in 2021. We just got to be patient. I know it's hard, but this is what we got to do if we want to get a good deal. Cars as well. Cars haven't dropped yet. I was thinking they were going to, but it's going to be a little longer before you start seeing. I think the cars are going to drop with the housing market. So let's wait on that and see. But I just wanted to give you a little insight of my thoughts and how I plan on using a lease option to get a place now while you're waiting for your credit to get where it needs to be to close on a property. Do the lease option. If you want more information on the lease option, hit me in the comments below, email me. Get on my email list if you want more information about this stuff and about holding companies, because I'm going to build a holding company course. So you really need to be on an email list if you want to get the best price and you want to be hit up first. All right. Thanks for your time. Subscribe, like, and comment, and I will catch you guys in the next video.